Don't get caught up in trying to do what everyone else is doing, because the people that love what you do will gravitate to you. They will come to you for your specific thing. It won't be a challenge to sign these people on because they will love what you do. And don't be afraid to niche. And it's so cliche, I get it. Everyone's like, follow your niche. But in all honesty, follow your niche.
Welcome to the Design Dialogues, the podcast where we dive deep into the business of interior design. I'm Beth, the founder of More Time to Design and a designer with over 13 years of experience. I'm here to help you navigate the challenges of running a successful studio, whether you're a solo designer or leading a team. Each week, I chat with industry experts and share practical insights to help you streamline your processes, grow your business, and create a studio that thrives. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy our Design Dialogues. Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Design Dialogues podcast. This week, I am joined by Kelly Donougher from 13 Interiors. Hi, Kelly.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
It's such a pleasure. I'm really looking forward to our chat today.
I am
As
too.
always, though, I need to start by asking you, what can you see out your window today?
So I'm in my beautiful St Kilda studio today, and I have a beautiful tree-lined street here. So soft sheer curtains. So it's a really harmonious space. I love this space. Very blessed to have found it. So that is my view every day.
Sounds lovely. Sounds lovely. So I would love to hear a little bit about your journey into interior design and your design journey, because this is not your first career, is it?
No. So I will do it in a bit of a nutshell because I feel like it could go on forever. And literally I have written a book about this that will hopefully come out one day. But I have worked in local government. I started in the recreation industry. I used to teach kids how to swim. I have lots of different backgrounds in different business models. I was a national manager with Fitness First and, like I said, local government. And then I actually went into mining when my husband and I moved to Western Australia. We originally went for 3 years and then 12 years later, and then now Melbourne. But yeah, I was a mining superintendent for a period of time and had some amazing opportunities in such a diverse, different world. But I learned so much, and we almost created like another family there. So, but then I sort of had that moment in time where I was like, what is it that I actually want to do with my life? I had a few pivotal moments where I really had to make, I guess, a decision about what I really loved and where my heart was at. And it sounds corny, but we actually built a home in Perth, and I decided to start studying at the same time and studied with the Interior Design Institute. And I loved it. We had the most amazing build experience, which no one says ever. Our builder was amazing, and we refer clients back and forth even now with that builder. And I sort of started as a little side hustle, really. Never ever envisaged that it would be where it is now. I never ever had that plan of like the 5-year plan. My husband and I are terrible at those kinds of forecasting because things change in a heartbeat. And then I registered 13 Interiors business name in early 2017, and just worked in my mining job side by side for nearly 2 or 3 years, and then had some pivotal moments there where I had to make a decision about how I was going to move forward, and that I was going to take the leap into doing it full time, which I did, which was just before COVID.
I was going to say, we're approaching COVID times here. So how did COVID impact? Had you already made the decision prior to COVID, or was COVID a bit of a catalyst?
No, I'd made the decision prior to COVID to take the leap, and my husband and I were going on a 2-month vacation.
Yeah.
So I'd left my job prior to that. We were like, woohoo, let's have a great vacation. I'd had a few clients, obviously, jobs I was working on.
Yeah.
And so I made a decision to leave. And then we got back from our holiday in the January. And then there was everyone was talking about COVID in China and like, what is
Yeah.
going on? And we were on a plane coming back, and I remember being really sick at the time too. I had vertigo coming home, and the air
Oh,
host
yeah.
is kind of looking at you going, have you got what they're talking about? And I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't even know what
yeah,
you're talking about. And then this world, erupted with lockdowns and close downs. But obviously WA was very different to the rest of the country.
yeah.
We were pretty much, locked in. But it definitely ramped things up. So I was just working from home at that point. I think that was heading into 2020. So yeah, working from home at that point, home office, no staff yet. And then things started to escalate. I started lots more inquiries. And because I think my whole heart was in it then too. I didn't have other commitments. I could spend more time marketing and developing that. And then everyone's sitting at home going, oh, well, I don't like those walls now that I've spent the last 3 weeks here. So lots more sort of inquiries, I guess, coming from the East Coast as well, which I'd always had.
Yep.
I don't know if it's just the way the social media translated and the style, because I'm originally from Sydney. And it just grew from there.
Yeah, wow. So how did you, like, you obviously kind of, I feel like in a way took what might take naturally a new business 3 or 4 years to get to the point, but you had that accelerator of COVID. How did you manage that? Like, you've obviously got a lot of business background behind you, so it
I
wasn't your
did, yeah.
first time running a business. So you
No.
had that kind of foundations where you knew you would obviously need systems and processes in place to make sure that you could deal with this influx. But were there times during those kind of early years where you're like, oh my goodness, this is a bit out of control? Like, we are just growing almost too quickly?
Yeah, definitely. I think I had a moment where I got a pinched nerve in my neck, and because I'd literally been like this, head down in the laptop for way too long, and not realizing that I was not looking after my health as well, and that was something that I had spent a bit of time on fixing, and because I literally couldn't move. So there was definitely moments like that where things just got too busy. I think I definitely. I'd always had a pretty good understanding of financials and money. I'm not a huge risk taker when it comes to that perspective. So I felt like I'd learned a lot about that in previous businesses and just generally in life. I was mid-30s as well. So, like, you're just a bit more mature. I had a strong background in, I guess, relationships and marketing from my local government days and also my Fitness First days when I was a national manager. And then I think I guess, dealing with challenges and I guess those stressful moments. I learnt a lot in mining too, because you were really out of your comfort zone when you're going there and you're managing 60-year-old men that have been doing it for 30 years and you're coming in going, so the procedure doesn't say that. But and then you're writing documentation for a mine site. So lots of different things have previously taught me how to deal with, I guess, challenges and adversity too. So there was definitely times where it was hard. Once we started moving through that COVID period, I did bring on a work experience girl, and she did work with me for a little while. She went casual. And then she ended up leaving prior to me moving into the big building or around that time. And then I've now got the team that I've got now for the last 3 years. So,
And
big
how
moments.
have you, definitely. Like, I think so, you were saying 2017. So we're kind of coming up to, like, the 8-year mark. I've got my maths right.
Yeah. That's yes.
That's and we were talking just quickly before we press record, you have 2 locations. So you don't just work, like you have a base in Melbourne and a base in Perth. So
Yes,
you're
yeah.
not only doing projects on the east and the west coast, but you
Mm,
also support 2 office locations, which is
yes.
huge. You
Mm,
obviously have a team to support that as well. So
yeah.
in a relatively short period of time, you have built out a very a large studio. How have
Mm,
you gone about thinking about what is the next step for me? Like, who is the next hire? Or is it we need to refine our current projects, like our current workloads of the people we have,
mm.
so we're getting more out of them? Or we need to take on some external help. Like, how do you map that out in a really strategic way when you're thinking about the growth? Because you've obviously done a lot of it in a short period of time.
Yes. I think my number one tip, I think, when it comes to expansion is know what your role in the business is going to be moving forward. So I had to
Yeah.
make a conscious decision about that first hire and what was really important to the business, and it was design support at that time, because you can get people to do admin, and I think this is where sort of those newer design businesses sort of struggle in that first infancy of like, what's the next, what do I hire first, or what's the best thing? And
Yeah.
I think a lot of people immediately go to admin, and don't get me wrong, I hate admin. We'll probably talk a bit about productivity, and I
Yeah.
literally can't sit still. There's always something going on. So for me, I knew that admin was something that would eventually, to a degree, get support with, but I also knew the importance of communication, systems and processes, and that needed me in the start. I
Yeah.
can teach design and teach the design systems and processes to a new designer, but not so much the higher level admin and communication to clients. So I think that was really important for me in the start, and why I went down the line of hiring designers first and knowing that I was going to be the creative director of all of our
Yep.
projects and the lead communicator and lead designer, but have a team work with me. And one of the things that I do implement into our business is the designers each work on their own projects. So they support each other when each of them need help, but they see their projects from start to finish. So we don't have like a conga line of like, you do
Yeah.
SketchUp and then you do Lumia and then you do documentation or whatever it is. They actually see their projects with me from start to finish. So they're involved in meetings, they're involved in correspondence with clients. They work as a team with me, and they are there at the very end when we might be putting cushions out in the lounge room or whatever the type of project is. So it's very much, for me, it was really working out what my role was going to be and where I was best hiring to support what my role was going to be, and that was definitely designers in that first instance. And literally last week
Yeah.
we've just put on a new junior designer as well.
Yeah. Wow. So how big is your team now?
So we have 2 designers. I have a senior and also an interior designer, and then we've just hired a junior designer, and we have a studio administrator. So the studio administrator looks after now contracts, aftercare and communication with clients during the project, supplier orders, and she also manages the warehouse as well. So when we do our ordering for clients, majority of items will come to us and we manage that. So we can manage the QA, we can manage couriers, particularly if it's a furniture job. So she manages the arrivals of that and communication with suppliers on ordering and things. So that is her role. And then the junior designer that will be starting shortly will support Shane Harrison, the lead designers, and
Yeah.
obviously me.
Wow. Yeah.
Because then I come
Awesome.
back and forth, which was the question you were asking. So I rotate between the two. So
Yep.
I'm back in Perth. So I actually moved to Melbourne, oh gosh, nearly a year and a half ago, or just over a year,
Yep.
really. end of 2023. So I moved because we made a decision that it was really me that needed to be in Melbourne to establish that base, find a hub, and connect with those relationships rather than sending one of the design team or finding someone else over here. So we did that, and our house is still in Perth, but we officially moved here, took the dog. Hubby commutes for work as well because he's still in mining. And then I go back to Perth sometimes fortnightly. It can depend what we have on, but mostly just a week a month, sometimes more. Like March, I'll be away for 2 weeks because we have a new Esperance project. We have a project in Adelaide that we're wrapping, and all of our design review meetings that are due in Perth and new meetings that are starting, and then back to Melbourne for our projects over here. So, yeah, it's busy, but it allows me to have that face-to-face connections on both sides of the country.
Yeah, so many questions have come from that. So, which is awesome. Like I love this. I love hearing how business owners get to how they are, because I don't think so often we see a business that's like 8-10 years old and you're like, wow, like, did you map that out? Or like, did you know it was going to be like from the start? And I'm like, you can never map it out. Like there's so many,
Definitely
I
not.
love that saying. I love the saying, like, you don't need to see the whole ladder. You just need to see the next step, because that's
so true.
kind of really how a business grows. Like you can have a vague idea where you're going, but there's so many like opportunities present themselves and taking advantage of all of that. One thing that I'd love to kind of dig down a little bit more is, how did you decide to have the structure where the designer sees the project from like initial meeting through to cushion going on the couch? Because I know a lot of studios flip it the other way, where it is that conga line and it kind of gets passed along and everyone touches every project. How did you just kind of know that that's how you wanted to work, or did you think, I think it'll work better that way? Like, how did you come to that decision?
I think for me, I thought about myself in their shoes. And I guess when you are a designer, which is something that everyone will experience when they hire people, it is a very creative job. When you're bringing someone into your business, you are asking them to creatively work and use that part of their brain under your brand, your brief, and they essentially don't sometimes get to be as creative as they probably would want to be if it was their own business. Now, they're all free to go run their own business if they want to, but there's, certainly people out there that will. But I also believe the way that I do it is quite rewarding for the team. And it shows, I guess, value and appreciation to what they do. And it's rewarding for them to, get to the end of that project and see how they've ultimately changed someone else's life, and see the family move into the home and be as rewarded as I am when I've overseen that project from start to finish as well. And it's that real team. I love the way that the client interacts with them as well at the end, and thank the designer for being part of it too. So I'm always very much about a strong team environment, and I've always prided myself on the way that I lead people in any business that I've run, and any manager role that I've been in. And your people are your biggest asset, 100%. And there needs to be give and take, and they know where the line is, but they also know how much I appreciate them too.
Yeah, I think that's such a lovely way to hear leadership talked about. I think
thank you.
There's a little bit in our industry where if your name is on the door, then it's you are the person who gets all the credit. And I think that's such a disservice to actually the whole business, because really, unless you truly are a solo designer and it is just you, these projects take a team, and I think it's so lovely that the team is acknowledged. And I think as well, like, it gives the client reassurance that there's, it's not just one person that's doing this. There's other people who've got their brains involved and all of that kind of stuff. And it means well that if you're away, there's another person they can contact, and there's not this like, and especially I can imagine juggling East and West Coast. There is going to be times when you are not going to be on the right side of the country when the client
Yeah,
needs you. So
that's
having
right.
those
Yeah.
people in place, I
Mm.
can imagine works very well from a client management perspective, if nothing else.
It does, yeah. And I mean, at Christmas time, I had a month off this year. The team were back before I was back working on projects and corresponding with clients as needed. They know what they're allowed to communicate and what they might not be.
Yep.
But definitely from that get-go perspective of when we bring on a client, their client welcome book has photos of the team, talks about each of those individual people and what they're doing. Every client knows exactly what designer is working on their project. And they've learnt so much in the last 3 years of that process, and I think that goes a lot to say about having a team for that long as well, and the same team. It's an
Definitely.
industry that does turn over very quickly. But they absolutely know how much I appreciate them, and I'm also so proud of them to see how much they've grown, because both of them were, Shay was straight out of uni. She was doing her architecture masters and then deviated to interior design. Harrison was doing his advanced diploma in design. So, they'd never really worked in the industry before. So I was their first, insight into that world. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's important for me that they are definitely part of that project and client's brief.
Yeah, it's awesome. The other
Thank
thing
you.
that I really wanted to dig into was, so you obviously have set times when you're in Perth and set times when you're in
Yes.
Melbourne. How do you pre-schedule out, like say you've got a
Mm.
client that's just booked in, do you kind of schedule out for them their meetings so that all of those Perth clients are kind of running on the same schedule and the Melbourne clients are
Yes.
kind of running on the same schedule? How do
Mm.
you and your team manage that process? Because I can imagine it's a bit of a Herculean effort to get it all to work.
Yeah, logistics is one that takes a lot of time and effort, but I will definitely say that I'm a very highly organized person when it comes to planning. I don't like
Yep.
admin, but I am a
Yep.
very good planner
Yeah.
in general. Like my husband, like if he comes home from work and he has to adult for a week and he's like, I'm done adulting. Can you just take over? So
I'm
yeah, I
guessing
would.
you love a spreadsheet.
Yeah, yeah, definitely don't mind a spreadsheet. Love, processes, and the team, we use Asana for our to-do list board, and everyone's got their column of what they're working on and what the overall picture is. But yeah, so the way I work out our planning based on the size of projects that we take on is there's an 8-week plan for each new project for their
Yeah.
design reviews. So I will take on new clients. So I could have someone inquiring now, but their first initial meeting might be 4 to 6 weeks away, and then their design review is 8 weeks from that point when we start them. So it helps me schedule each month because everyone's ready sort of at different stages. So when I go back in March, the January people are due for the new projects that started in January are due for their 8-week review meeting. And then I schedule anyone new that's booked in for the same period so that we can have their design review or their journey meeting, we call it, for their initial brief. Then we have design review for our previous clients. So we always have an interim meeting for all of our new projects roughly at that 8-week mark, because that's
Yep.
where we might sit and start to go through their designs in the studio, and we'll have it on the TV, walk through 3D, go through materials, whatever type of project it might be. And then we
Yep.
complete designs from there. So it's kind of like a monthly schedule, but I allow those 8 weeks for those design reviews. So every second month we have design reviews and new clients. So
Yeah.
it's a bit of a
Yeah.
juggling act, but if I set timeframes, that's what the designers know that we have to work towards. And
Yep.
then the clients know a clear deadline of when things are going to be coming up so that they can, they might need to speak to their builder or their architect, or I might have trades that we need to communicate with, but it's very clear. It's not like, oh, we'll be ready in a couple of months,
Yep.
or, and then all of a sudden it's 2 months overdue and we haven't corresponded with the client. So,
Yeah.
yeah, very, it is a lot more scheduled like that. There might be a couple of times where I have to pop back for something that's unexpected, or, a particular meeting that we need to do. Installs as well, like when we're fitting out whole houses, furniture jobs, that's a bit different. That sort of happens in the second half of the year generally, where it starts to get a bit more chaotic. But logistics is very important.
Yeah, I love that. And I think so often designers don't think about it's actually part of our job to set the timeline with the client and clearly communicate with them, and to make sure the client knows that we are in control of the process.
I was just about to say it comes with confidence. I can tell you there's a lot, like I probably wasn't maybe as confident when I first started, but it is, you like need to set those boundaries. And I think once you've done it, it's actually not as hard as you think it is, like, because the client's like, okay, yep, no worries. Like, it's
totally,
I don't know what you're so scared of by setting boundaries.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and I think the way I often try to tell, like, I think so often clients are coming to us and they have no idea what they're doing, and they are actually craving direction and someone to hold their hand. And that as soon as you kind of fill that void for the client, you can almost see them relax a little bit, and they're like, oh, and like their questions become a little bit less frenetic, and it's just,
that's
right.
They trust you.
They just relax a little bit and they trust you. And so I really encourage designers, especially like little baby designers, to, even if you don't completely feel it, have that confidence to go, this is what we're doing when, this is what you can expect from us, relax. Like I think, it is, you are the person who needs to be in control of the process, not the client.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it comes with experience. It comes with developing confidence and previous project experience too. There's always something that comes up in every project that you're like, put that one in the memory bank. But it's definitely important to set those expectations.
You also have to follow through. You can't
true.
say, like, that's actually the kicker. You can't. It's
it is,
to be very authoritative and like, this is what we're doing when, and you can expect this from that, and then you don't deliver, and they're like, well, hold on, now what's happening? So I think that's the second part to this. It's kind of like you have to have the systems and processes in place so you can deliver what you're saying you're going to deliver. Because as soon as you let the client down, that trust starts to slip, and it's like,
it does,
it's really hard to get it back.
And I am very much a strong believer in, if you say you're going to do something, you've got to do it. Otherwise, don't say it.
Totally, don't commit. We've already touched on a couple of these things, but what are some of the traps you would see a newish designer doing, maybe when they're looking at expanding, or they kind of get land a couple of big projects and all of a sudden they're a bit overwhelmed with the amount of work they've got going on? What are some of those traps that you think newish designers fall into?
I think, we probably just said one, definitely over-promising and under-delivering. That's, 100% a no-no in our industry. I think one thing I would definitely say to people and new designers starting out is actually not trying to be everything to everyone. I remember when I first started, and I obviously had a little bit more of a different aesthetic to what was being shown in Perth at the time. It was a lot of coastal, white boucle and, that kind of beachy vibe. And I'm definitely not that kind of person personally. So I guess my initial presence in social media land was a bit more dark and moody, very much like the studios, and always that touch of that, I guess, elements of, blacks, but always talking about functionality of design, and very much, people do call me the storage queen. So we always like to build in storage where we can. So there was definitely elements that I didn't realize I had as my niche. And it actually was a really good thing. And it wasn't, there was a couple of designers that had said to me at the time that were like, oh my God, where did you come from? Like, you've just popped out of nowhere. And I was sort of like, oh, well, I don't really know. I just started my business and this is where I'm at.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. The feedback that people had given me at the time were like, oh man, I love your style. And, I didn't even realize that I had a style. And
Yeah.
I was sort of just taking jobs as they came on, and people reaching out because they liked that. But then we definitely had an element of other projects coming on board that weren't necessarily about my style. So I would definitely say to people, like, really hone in on what it is that you love, what it is that you're really good at. Don't get caught up in trying to do what everyone else is doing, because the people that love what you do will gravitate to you. They will come to you for your specific thing. It won't be a
Yeah.
challenge to sign these people on because they will love what you do. And
Yeah.
don't be afraid to niche. And it's so cliche. I get it. Everyone's like, follow your niche. But in all honesty, follow your niche. Like, hone in
Totally.
on what it is that you bring to design, hone in on what it is that you know that you do well, and communicate that. Just time and time again, show people how you do the dark and moody aesthetic, or whatever it is, that you're the storage queen, that you know what you're talking about, because when people want that, they'll come to you. And I
Yeah.
know that, and also the other thing is, people actually don't know what you do unless you tell them. That was
Yes.
like,
Yes.
yeah, you've got to tell people, you've got to show people. You can't just sit back and go, oh my God, I don't like Instagram. No
Yep.
one likes my posts anymore, and things like that. It's not true. People still scroll past and look at your information. The general homeowner doesn't sit there, like, and comment. They'll
No.
probably save it or screenshot it. Doesn't mean
Yep.
that your posts aren't reaching. Doesn't mean that people don't like what you do. It's business owners and people in Instagram land that do the like and the comment because they want it back on their post.
Totally, totally.
So,
I love
yeah,
the saying, like, you never know who is watching you. And
exactly.
I think when you've been in business for like a long time, you understand that, because you'll have a laundry list of projects where you're like, oh, that was someone who saw an Instagram post from 3 years ago, but they
Yeah.
had a delay on their
Yep.
build. And they knew they were always going to talk to you, but they just weren't right. They weren't at the right time in their project. Or,
Yeah.
like, I think you understand that a little bit more. Like, it's like lots of things. Once you have that bit of experience behind you, you
Yeah,
do
it
understand
is.
you never know who is listening and
Yeah,
watching you. So just keep going. I think
that's
the
right.
other bit that I love to, like, that whole niche thing is actually, and I think you've done this well. Well, this is my perception of how you've done it. Is you've kind of just been in your lane and had blinkers on, and you've just done your thing, and you haven't bought into a bit of the palaver that comes with some of our industries
Yeah.
sometimes. Like, you kind of,
Yeah, thank
I
you.
think you've really defined your success for you, and you've just stuck to that. Like, you know what your success is, and that's the
Yeah.
business you're building. And you don't really care if it doesn't look like another interior design studio, because that wouldn't
No.
work for you. And I think
No.
that's so
Yeah.
important. I think we get caught up a little bit in, oh, well, they're doing that over there, so maybe I should do that. Or, like, I think
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
kind of just got to have your blinkers on and go, this is my business that I'm building. Doesn't matter what anyone else
Yeah.
thinks or what
And it
anyone
comes
else is
back to your
doing.
why, and like,
Yeah.
why are you doing it? I do it because I love this industry. I love creating that transformation for clients and knowing that we change the way they live. And one of the
Yeah.
reasons why we don't do display homes, we don't do, Airbnbs, and that's not my design journey. I
Yeah.
love what we create for people on those long-term homes with long-term decisions, and watching those families grow and then going back and restyling years down the track or whatever it might be. So that's why I do it. And there's no better feeling when a client moves into a house and they are absolutely just knocked over with how much they love it. And we get these messages like, oh my God, we just entertained all weekend, and I absolutely love the flow of my kitchen, and it worked for everything. And, things like that. That's why I do this. And, this is my baby. I don't have children. I have a fur baby. But it very much was my own journey. But like I said from the start, I didn't have a clear, like, this is where I want to be in 5 years. This has evolved with what has worked for me, and I've moved with the market, I guess. I would never have come to St Kilda if I didn't have an East Coast following. Like, we've got clients in Sydney, we have clients in Adelaide, we have, Queensland. So there's a lot of diversity between the projects that we do and the scale, but I moved with where the market interest was. And, and one of those things was when we worked with Sophie Keisha on her home. That was such a rewarding process to see how her life changed from that home. And that was literally in Melbourne. I did that mostly during the lockdowns of COVID and not being able to travel. And then I've got people coming to me now that are like, oh, I followed you since Sophie Keisha days. So, and that was three years ago, or like 4 years ago now, whatever. So, like you said, you never know who's watching, but the journey has definitely been on my terms. Not trying to compare myself to what other people are doing, or how, I guess, people perceive you that you should look in this industry, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I love it. So what's something that excites you about our industry at the moment?
I don't know if there's anything specific in this industry that for Trent, it's probably, again, I'm probably a little bit different to people that maybe go out and look at $50,000 sofas and love the specific sofa. I think what I get excited about is probably more, like I said before, about what we create for our clients. Every time we get a brief from a client and, we sit down with the team and we're like, oh my God, I'm so excited about this project. Like, we've just got this amazing architecturally built home that we're going to be working with a client in Esperance, and the one that we're finishing in Adelaide next month is quite unique. And I think there's an element of excitement about the opportunities that we have and the homes that we get to work on, and the excitement that the team have, and they're so invested in it as much as I am. I think that's what excites me about this job, the business I've created, and this world. Not so much about maybe trends or what's happening in the industry as such. Because I think you can make your own path.
Exactly. And I love that. I really do love that. I think the industry is diverse enough that we can there's places for all of us as designers, kind of thing. There'll be some designers
there is.
who are really immersed in, what's happening in Milan and Paris and all that kind of stuff. We're starting
I'm a bit
to see
blasé to that stuff, I will be very honest. I know that everyone's like, oh, I went to Milan. I'm like, oh, that's good.
But I actually think that's fine. Like, I think there's so many elements to what we do, kind of thing. And I think, there is nothing better than seeing a client at the end of the project who just is blown away by this home that they get to live in. And, it's the magic that we create, which is the best part of it all.
Yeah, that's what means the most to me.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for joining me, Kelly. I have loved learning about your business. I must admit, your kind of coast hopping makes me feel a bit tired just talking about it. But
I won't lie, it does get a little bit tiring sometimes, but I do love it. So yeah.
But no, so thank you so much for joining me.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to this design dialogue. I hope you have found it full of inspiration and helpful information to take into your design studio. If you like the podcast and want to hear more, consider sharing it or writing a review, as it helps us reach more people, and follow us wherever you get your podcasts. If you would like to unlock the power of effortless studio management and elevate your design business to new heights, Please follow the links in our show notes to see how more time to design can help you build a better business. Have a great week, and I will see you for our next Design Dialogue.